I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, September the 12th, brought to you in part by Western Video Markets. The big Haythorn Ranch sale is today, September the 12th. Starts at 9 o'clock Central Time this morning. They've got a good offering from their entire trade area. There'll be lots of fancy calves and yearlings. They've got a lot of breeding stock on this sale. The breeding stock and several big deals of Montana bred heifers, they're going to start around 11:30 in the morning. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to log on to wvmcattle.com or dvauction.com, and you can find the console for that to bid on that sale. Also, Beaver County Stockyards, Beaver, Oklahoma, they've got a more moderate run than usual because they had another big rain. Somebody's living right over there, but they got another big rain, 2 to 3.5 inches around that there in the Oklahoma Panhandle. So it's a little muddy around there. Only about 1,500 head. They're going to have about 400 head of calves. Lane Conkle told me most of them weighing 400 to 600 pounds. Very few of them going to be weaned. About 1,000 yearlings. Most of them sold in loads. There'll be 10 loads of 8 and 9 weight steers. 1 load of heavy 7 weight heifers that are going to be all natural and NHTC. For you northern guys that are interested in that, log on to Beaver County Stockyard or DVAuction, find your Beaver County Stockyard sale, get a hold of them, tell them you want to be approved, bid on those heifers. Got 2 more loads of 700 pound feeder heifers there. But just a moderate cow offering. They do have 28 head of young P3 cows there if somebody locals there is interested in those. But check out Beaver County Stockyards. The fall calf run is underway. Maybe a little bit early, not a whole lot early, but we are getting in towards the middle part of September here. And offerings of the spring-born calves are coming right along, and we're seeing some bigger strings of them, some of the more reputation strings. The market is bringing them to town, I believe. In some places, like in central Texas, Louisiana, going over into Mississippi, and places where it's been extremely dry, the dry weather is bringing them in because they have absolutely nothing to eat out there. But I think in the rest of the country, where we don't see severe drought, the market is bringing them to town. They just can't believe what some of these calves are bringing. We haven't seen the big calf quotes yet, and I'm not talking about the heavy calves. I'm talking about the big price quotes. We're starting to see them more and more. I'm gonna tell you about several of them that happened on Monday, and they're very impressive. But like I said, I still think the calves are relatively cheap. Especially when you look at what they're projecting yearlings to be bringing down the line there. I think you can get in there and buy some calves, and you can put an LRP on them if you've got some feed, and you can make some money on those. But your calf buyers have been they showed Packer-like discipline on Monday anyway. We didn't see them go crazy. We saw some calves showing up, some pretty impressive strings of calves showing up, but and they sold well, but not much higher. And in fact, in Oklahoma City, they were lower. Steer and heifer calves both were lower. And I think because as we started to see the temperatures change, that is reminding everybody of how sick these calves can get when we get these big wide temperature swings. And we're getting closer to October, which everybody knows is dead calf month. So, they're a little bit worried about that. You cannot blame them at all. And like I said, they showed Packer-like discipline. We talk about how disciplined the Packers are all the time. Everybody knows they need fat cattle to run their packing houses, but they always act like they don't need them. Calf buyers are the same way. They're just kind of laying back. They didn't see their favorite strings of calves show up yet. They'll know them whenever they come to their favorite sale barn, and they'll get more interested in them. The longer they wait, the longer those calves are going to be weaned. The ones that are weaned, the ones that are not weaned, they're not going to be interested in them, not your top buyers. just be some traders there that are wanting to take advantage of the mismanagement and buy them at a significant discount. And that's where you see the big premium for your wean calves, because that's your top calf buyers. You're not going to see top calf buyers in there buying balling calves. They're too hard to take care of, and you hate to send them to anybody, because you know they're going to have a lot of trouble with them, and then they're not going to be happy with the job you did. And if they told you could buy a few balling calves, there you are. But your calf deal is just getting started here. We did see that a larger percentage of the runs and your big high volume sales are starting to be calves. Not a majority, but getting very, very close to the majority. Within a week or two, the majority of the runs in your big sale barns are going to be calves. But this week it was fairly evenly swapped. In Oklahoma City, there was 52% of the run weighing over 600 pounds, and that doesn't mean calf or yearling, but that's roughly the only way you can really do it. But the market reporters are doing the best they can. In Joplin, those weighing over 600 pounds were 53% of the run. Russell, Iowa, those weighing over 600 pounds are also 53% of the run. It's amazing how even that is going up through the Midwest like that. But I want to talk about your board. To start the week out on Monday, October live cattle futures were up $1 at 184.22. December was up 85 cents at 188.27. Your back months were all up big, up 85 cents to up 105. Feeder cattle futures, September was up 87, just continuing to launch further out at a premium to what our index levels are, and they're going to have to meet up here before long. But up 87 cents on the September contract at 256.22. October and all the rest of your feeder cattle traded months were up $2 or more. October was up $2.30 at 261.45. These traders are just now thinking, my gosh, look how much lighter the cows are. Look how much lighter the calf supplies were, and look how much lighter your yearling feeders are going to be down the road. And it has yet to really spark the calves, I think. I mean, it may be an outstanding deal, but the bulk of the calves are still cheap. But your late, your back months on your feeder cattle contracts were up 197 to up 265. New crop December corn was up 2 cents at 485 3/4. Even more reasons to be impressed with that feeder cattle board. New crop beans for November up 6 cents at 13.69. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December down 8 1/4 cents at 7.23 3/4. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade, and it was light, extremely light. Of course, it was during a holiday week, but they were not buying for a holiday week. They were in a holiday week. So big deal if nobody's working on Monday. You can still buy enough fat cattle to run through the plants on a non-holiday week, which is next week or this week. But a weighted average, your total head counts of negotiated sales in your 5-area feeding region were 47,200. That's nothing. Compare that to the previous week was 58,400. The same week a year ago, which was also the holiday week, 69,800. I like to see about 100,000 in there, and that's even light. But packers do not want to participate in negotiated trade at all, because if they get in there and they start trying to buy those cattle, the competition is going to make the price higher. It's going to cost them more for all the cattle that they buy on a program or some type of a contract deal. And they're just about to get to the point where they don't even need any negotiated, and a lot of your smaller feedlots and farmer feeders that participate in negotiated sales are finding that it's almost impossible to get their cattle sold, and so they're either bailing out, some bigger outfits coming in taking them over, or they're just going out of business. So this deal is going down, and it's going down the drain right now, and I want you guys to realize that you were witnessing it, nobody doing anything about it. I've been pushing cattle price discovery and transparency act for about 3 years on this report, and then you got your NCBA fighting against it with your checkoff dollars, people. But live sales last week in your 5-area feeding region ranged from 179 to 186. That was steady to a buck higher on the range, but the weighted average was lower, 182.28 on your weighted average. That was down 22 cents. Roughly your northern plains sold steady to a buck lower from 183 to 185 for the most part. Southern plains were $1 to $2 higher, $2 higher in Kansas, $1 higher in Texas, and they were all trading at 180, but still your weighted average is lower. Dress sales ranged from 286 to 294, steady to $2 lower, and most of your sales were 288 to 290. Your weighted average on dressed steers was 289.48, down 91 cents. So lower fat cattle market. They just continue to resist buying any, and I keep thinking that we're going to win this standoff. They're not buying any negotiated sales. Eventually they'll get tight enough on supplies of cattle that they'll have to get aggressive to meet the needs of their customers, but we have not seen that yet. Nationwide last week we sold 56,800 head negotiated. Negotiated grid, which really isn't any negotiation, was 43,200. Forward contracting was 37,400, and formula sales were only 250,000, 250,600. All of those are light, and we're going into this week, which is not a holiday week, and that's what they sold last week. But of the 56,800, 22% of those were for the 15 to 30 day delivery, which is less than normal. Your breakdown of your 4 out of the 5 feeding regions that we get to see the information in. Iowa sold 19,600 last week. That's nothing. Nebraska sold 14,200. That's even more nothing. Kansas sold 6,800. That's nothing. And Texas sold 6,600. Nothing. Big nothing as far as negotiated sales. Box beef cutout values were lower to start the week, significantly lower on a choice, down 279 at 310.11. Selects down 61 cents at 285.44. Slaughter starting out pretty typical, and that's kind of the way it's been during these light weeks of slaughter. They start out up there somewhere close to normal, and then they continue to back off and back off and back off, and then don't do anything on Saturday, and it ends up very disappointing. But Monday, 125,000 estimated. Talk about what else is going on. The Night Latch Group from Laverne, Oklahoma. That's Andy Cunningham there. Andy was on hand at Beaver County Stockyards last Tuesday, gave a presentation on livestock gross margin policies. Very interesting there. He talked about LRPs. We're more familiar with those. Your livestock risk protection policies. He also sells drought insurance, crop insurance. He can help you out about anything. Wants you to hold on to your investment, hence the name Night Latch. Find more information about him at nightlatch.net. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Monday, sitting at 248.95, actually up 27 cents compared to the end of last week, and the market was kind of waning off a little bit late last week. There was no ball of fire on Monday, but some of your sales were higher. Your CME cash feeder cattle index broke 250. They get to input some of those high video sales and some of those direct sales that nobody checks on, and they've got that thing up to 250.42, but it's still a long ways from your September feeder cattle contract, which is 256.22. But talk about your big sales. Actually, I want to remind you that Elite Livestock Sales, the guys that used to be at Montgomery Stockyards in Montgomery, Alabama, they're going to be having another one of their video sales this Thursday, and they've got cattle from 5 different states on there, so be thinking about that, getting on Thursday to DVAuction and checking out the Elite Livestock Sales from that group there. But on Monday, your big sales Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, 11,200 head compared to 2 weeks ago because they didn't have a sale on Labor Day. Feeder steers were $1 to $4 higher. Feeder heifers were steady to $3 higher. Steer calves $2 to $4 lower. Heifer calves $2 to $5 lower. That's kind of like what I've been talking about on your market. Still good demand for feeders, but your calf buyers just showing a lot of discipline, knowing that we have a ton of calves to come to the sales. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 8,200 head there compared to 2 weeks ago. All classes sold steady, almost exactly steady there, but a good sale for Joplin. Russell Livestock Market in Russell, Iowa had their barbecue special. Typically it had it on Labor Day Monday, but moved it back 1 week this week and didn't hurt it a bit. There was no recent comparison on the market, but it was an outstanding sale, and it was your stick out sale from NationalBeefWire. And I want you guys to look at the rundown of this on an automated market report through Cattle Market Central there. I'm just going to give you the steers because the steers were well tested throughout the weight groups. 626 head of full weight steers, average 450 pounds. Weighted average price on almost over 625 head. Weighted average price $330.65, with help from 89 head of 403 pound steers at $365 and 75 head of 445 pound steers that brought $357. My goodness. 632 head of 5 weight steer calves, average $555 with a weighted average price of $296.92. 560 head of 6 weight steer calves, average $662, average price $276.88. Just 293 head of 7 weight steers, they average $747 with a weighted average price of $263.32. 637 head of 8 weight steers in Russell, Iowa, averaged 855 pounds with a weighted average price of $249.98. Very impressive. 336 head of 9 weight steers, averaged 918 at $241.77. Very impressive sale there at Russell, Iowa, and I think those guys are spiking the barbecue sauce there too. How about Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming? Of course, they had a special sale, 4,000 head on offer, which is not huge for them, but they did have the regional qualifier, Western Region qualifier for the World Livestock Auctioneer Contest. The winner was my good friend Wade Leish out of Michigan, and he's just been knocking on the door every year. This could be his year. The reserve champion was a rookie, Jace Thompson, son of Ty Thompson from up in Billings, Montana, and he was up in Canada when I was up there this summer, and he is excellent and young. And then the runner-up from there was Brennan Jack from Canada, who does a great job too. But the Torrington market was no ball of fire, really. I mean, it was just the market, and they called the market steady. One impressive quote out of there was 149 steers weighed 894, bring 250-150. But we've seen higher than that in other places, and I'm saying it's just a little more reserved around a lot. But some individual quotes that were not reserved. One of them, Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. Jack Harrison owns and runs that barn right there. Good friend of mine. Sold some steers. There were 74 head of them. Weighed 728. Bring 280.50. Very impressive. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Faith Livestock Auction in Faith, South Dakota. 78 steers weighed 630 pounds at $302. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.